My name's Robbie Cumming. That's me, having problems with my propeller again. Let's see what's in the weed hatch today. Okay, that's clear. Whew. And this is my old narrowboat, the Naughty Lass. For over a decade, I've been exploring Britain's rivers and canals, camera in hand, filming every bump, scrape and tricky situation. And there's been a fair few over the years. So much is going on, I just slipped and fell in. I'm quite stuck. It's all very soft mud that I'm just sat in. This time I'm headed west to discover the waterways of Wales and the Welsh marches. I start at Frankton Junction. I'll head to Ellesmere in Shropshire before I take a detour up the Pries branch on the Llangollen Canal. I'll then make my way to Whitchurch, and Grindley Brook is journey's end. It's around 17 miles in all. There'll be plenty to see, so jump on board for my canal boat diaries. Just about to set off on another adventure, but it has been slightly delayed. Yesterday I had a summer storm come through the area, and it's still a bit windy today, so I'm going to have to go with the flow. It's a bit of a challenge when you've got a flat-bottomed boat. You can get blown about quite a bit. But before I set off today, I've got a tiny little job to get done in my engine bay. Over the past week or so, I've been exploring the Montgomery Canal. It's a dead end. You can only go so far before you have to turn around anyway. But I've done it. So for the purposes of my brass plaque collection, I get to put this little one up here before I set off today. This journey can be another great one, weaving our way through glacial landscapes in Shropshire, going through market towns, finding the home of a former stand-up comedian is an absolute comedy legend, and also just all the usual mishaps that I get up to, and maybe a few surprises thrown in here and there. Well, in the time it's taken me to screw on that plaque onto the wall in my engine bay and untie my ropes, it's nice and sunny now, which is great. It is still a little bit breezy, but I've not got long to go today, only a few miles, and I reach my destination of Ellesmere. That's my mooring for tonight, and it's a lovely little town with plenty of shops, so I can stock up on supplies. And also there's a social outdoor activity that I'm going to join in, which involves water and me probably getting very wet, so yeah, I look forward to that. Around here, I'm following the natural low points in the land. Under 3 bridges, all named after Val Hill, which is this scenic mound topped with trees. It was formed during the last ice age, when the advancing ice sheet pushed rock and debris to its front. The huge glacier melted as the climate warmed, and this hill in Shropshire's landscape emerged. I've been on dozens of canals, travelled thousands of miles, and the Llangollen is one that I've kept it on my list. A lot of people would be just like, yeah, I'm going to the Llangollen first, and I just thought the most popular canal on the entire system didn't really appeal for me. But having experienced it myself now, yeah, I can see both sides to it, and I'm just enjoying the journey. It's easy to see why this is the most popular canal in the country. Peaceful countryside, impressive aqueducts, and charming towns to explore. And it just so happens I'm heading to one now. Canals like this one relied on largely unskilled labourers building it, but they would have to employ a skilled canal engineer. And one such chap, very well known, Thomas Telford, he was in such demand across the country. He would do a lot of travelling between various different projects. And whilst he was here on this canal, this building here was where he had his base. It was also where the headquarters of the canal was. He was on quite a sizable income at the time, about £300, and I imagine it's in this building where he collected his wage packet. As you might have noticed, I've turned off the main part of the canal onto this arm that takes me as close as possible to Ellesmere and all of the shops and everything. So I'm going to stop here. It's looking quite busy. Hopefully I can get a space, moor up, and then explore the place as well as get my supplies in. There's a DIY shop here, there's butchers, supermarket. So yeah, hoping to get the most out of this town. Arriving in Ellesmere, right at the end of this arm of the canal, I realised there wasn't much space for my boat. I luckily found one of the last spaces available on the side. Moored up and then walked into town so I could get some supplies. Whenever I come across a canal town, I always make it a priority to get the shopping done and whatever else. And this time I went to the butcher's, I went to the hardware shop, and also found out a little bit of history about the town along the way. Just wandering around this town, I found this hotel which relates to the building of the canal. As you can imagine, some people had to pay for it, and in 1792 dozens of investors met here, eager to take advantage of the canal boom that was happening at the time. And there's a little sign here that tells that they raised near £1 million of money, a crazy amount of money at the time, and for the construction of the canal. And if you're wondering why it says Ellesmere Canal, well, that was the name of it back then. After a quick walk back to my boat to grab a towel and my swim shorts, I set off for an evening in Ellesmere. I don't do a lot of swimming. In fact, the last time I had a little dip, an intentional one, was River Cherwell. I just found a wild swimming spot and jumped in. Here it's a little bit more organised than that. I'm going to meet with a group of people who do it every week. But they're going to show me the ropes, and hopefully it's not too cold. Sue, thank you so much for letting me join you today.
It's a pleasure.
Do you swim here every week, no matter the weather, or?
We swim here on Tuesdays when the temperature is above 11 degrees.
Okay, there's a cut-off point. Okay, I'm hoping it is a little bit warmer than.
It will be a little bit warmer than 11 degrees today, so don't worry, Robbie.
Yes. This looks to me like a gigantic lake.
Yeah.
But it's got the name Mere. What does that mean?
These meres are from the Ice Age, when glaciers came down from the north. They got to here and started retreating, and they cut out all these waters, and that's why they're called a mere.
And there's quite a few of them in the area, isn't there?
About 7 or 8, I think.
All right, so
come and enjoy.
Let's do it. Right, here goes.
Do this.
Right, I've reached the farthest I can get. Time to turn back, especially as the wind's blowing all the water in my Oh, wonderful, exhilarating, but I'm going to head back now. I'm not a swimmer, I don't do this stuff every day, but I was proud of myself and yes, escaped without having to be rescued anyway. Right, well, it's been quite eventful so far this morning. It's only 8:30. I've already seen a couple of boats turning round with difficulty because there are just so many here, and we're all sort of moored right down the end of this arm. So I'm going to get out of the way, I think, in a minute. But check my shorts. They seem to be dried enough. And I'm going to start my engine in a minute and just get cranking. I've got plenty of miles to cover today. Right, I'm making my way back out along this arm. I'll soon rejoin the main part of the canal, and today my plan is to reach another offshoot of the canal that hopefully slightly less people will venture down. It's got a couple of lift bridges, that usually puts them off. But there is a marina there that I can stock up with supplies if needed. And also along the way, I am going to speak to someone who I've been in contact with about boat painting, specifically sign writing. Not that I'm going to get anyone else to do the naughty lass at the front of the boat. I want to do it, but yeah, I just need some advice, I think. So it has been quite a while that I've left the name off the front of the boat. Leaving Ellesmere, I'm heading underground for the first and only tunnel of this trip. In some places, canal navvies had to blast through solid rock or sink deep shafts to carve out a passage. But here, on the Llangollen Canal, they took another approach. This tunnel, the way it was constructed, was a little bit different. It was a cut and cover, so they would dig a trench, quite shallow in terms of tunnels, and then just build up the sides and the brickwork and everything, and then all the earth that was dug out would just be laid on top. This tunnel is quite short, really. It's almost like an extended bridge. Cut and covered tunnels like this were built instead of leaving an open cutting to maintain normal life above and to avoid steep canal banks which might be prone to landslips. Next I passed through Shropshire's very own Lake District, and it's quite a sight. This is an absolutely stunning place to be. Got all these meres around. So this is what Sue was talking about yesterday at the swimming. She said that these were all formed about 10,000 years ago during the last ice age. Glacial ice would come through, sort of bore these pockets out of the land, and be left with the melting ice filling it up, leaving it as it is today. With views like this, it's little wonder this canal is a popular spot with holiday makers on hire boats. It feels quite weird to think of this boat as being a hire boat at the start of its life, over 40 years ago, because it means that hundreds of people, maybe even someone watching right now, has been on this boat and taken it out as a holiday around West Midlands or in North Wales or where, I don't know. It's really bizarre to think of it like that. I couldn't think of anyone else having this boat. In fact, I have thought about what about if I rent this boat out to someone else in the future? I just don't know. I can't trust anyone with this boat. Not even myself sometimes. is a great example of canal congestion. I'm in a long line of boats, all moving the same way, at the slowest speed, and there's a load coming the other way. This is the busiest I've seen it so far, and it does paint the picture of this canal at its peak, what it's really like. I'm just going to pull in now and let these other people who are clearly on holiday on a limited time, I'll let them through, and I can just hover around this bend and get a drink finally. I just let 3 or 4 boats pass me. I'd gone to get a drink of water, returned back onto the tiller, and realised that I was just completely well and truly stuck. I've run aground. I didn't realise how shallow it was over this side. There's not enough volume of water for the propeller to turn in. I tried the barge pole, but there's nothing really to lever or push off against. It's all very soft mud that I'm just sat in. I used my barge pole at both ends. I don't know what to do. Revved the engine as much as I could, but just a stuck boat in the middle of the canal. I'm well into an hour waiting out here in the middle of the canal, completely stuck. No boats have come past until now. I can see a hire boat approaching. They're headed straight for me. Hopefully they can help out. Mayday! Mayday! I'm stuck. Can you help me? Luckily, a group turned up. We used the ropes, tied the boats together. Right, here we go. I don't know if it's going to work, but we'll see. Whoa! Oh, there's some movement. The front's moving. Okay, you're pulling me along now. Whoa, whoa, whoa! I was eventually free. Okay, I got it. Wow. Thank you. With that drama over, I'm free again, and it's big thanks to the holiday boaters who actually left before I could say goodbye. Right, I'm on my way again now, and nothing happened. It was all fine, and it was great. Just coming into Bettisfield, and I think I'm going to moor here for tonight. I was going to explore the Prees branch, which is a part of the canal that comes off the main line, but I've just run out of time today. Hopefully I'll get to meet Tony, the local narrowboat painter, narrowboat artist. I got in touch with Tony through some folk back in Ellesmere, and I'm hoping he'll give me a few tips on sign writing, amongst other stuff. Now I'm guessing you must be Tony because of all the things you brought with you.
Hello.
Is this your actual work you brought?
Yes, some examples of what I've been doing for a living for a lot of the time, yeah.
I love meeting locals connected to the waterways. Tony has been painting narrowboats since back in the 60s. Tony, this is genuinely beautiful. What I'm seeing here is something that I would really struggle to be able to do because it looks like it takes a lot of dedication.
It does, but at the same time, it's practice, you know what I mean? It's a technique that once it's learned, you can then transfer it onto a lot of other things, which is how the boat builders did it originally. It was a boat builder's art. Oh. Not an actual artist, as it were. It was just part of the tradition of narrowboats, and therefore when the boat went into dry dock for repairs, the boat builder would do some painting on it afterwards. Extraordinary how many wonderful artists there were on the canal.
It's something nice to look at, do you think? A castle, and it's quite a magical, mystical...
I think it was partly, it looks wonderful, but partly the boats were so small in terms of living accommodation that I think every bit of decorative paintwork made it easier for the boat people to live on it. You know what I'm getting at here? It's all part of the lifestyle rather than just a purely artistic showing off. It was important. It was, as it were, sociologically important to the boat people when they were working.
Can I ask you about my boat, maybe some advice for me? Sign writing, what's the most important thing that I need to think about when I'm doing my boat there?
One of the most important things is the quality of the brushes, really. Signwriters use brushes that are specifically made for that job, and it does help an awful lot. If you're trying to work with a hairy old kid's brush, you're already on the hiding to nothing, basically.
Tony, with your artwork, you give me a lot of inspiration, but lots of stuff to think about in terms of what materials I need, etc.
Good.
But thanks for bringing them along. It's brilliant.
Oh, no, it's been a pleasure. Well, nice to meet you, and yes, I do hope you can do a bit of it yourself. That would be grand.
I'll give it a go. I might try my own style. With Tony heading home, I decided it was the perfect evening for a bit of outdoor cooking. Anyway, I'm having steak tonight that I bought in the butcher's in Shropshire. I'm actually in Wales tonight, that's where I'm mooring. I'm just crossed over the border again, but this is exactly what I like doing. Just sit and stare at the fire for a bit. Some days things just don't go to plan. I put my barbecue stuff away, I set off, and then almost immediately I was travelling at about 0.5 miles an hour. Yeah, I'm not moving very quickly today. I'm getting stuck in various different places. Even in the middle of the canal where I am now, it's, I don't know, there's a bank of silt or something I've got stuck on. And I thought, what's going on here? Is it just really shallow? Because I've had problems with that. However, when I started to see a couple of other boats moving at normal speed, I started to think maybe it's something to do with my boat. Let's see what's in the weed hatch today. Quite a large bit of plasticky material. Okay, that's clear. Whew. Right, I'm on the way now. I thought the canal was just too shallow or something like that, but in actual fact there was of course something wrapped around my propeller. This canal here is very, very straight. Thomas Telford, when he was designing it, just went, right, yeah, A to B. Drew a line across this flat landscape, but it was also a very boggy landscape, made up as it is of peat bogs. Creating a watertight channel through this shifting, soggy bog proved an almost impossible task and demanded constant upkeep. To manage it, a team of navvies, known as the Wixell Moss Gang, was assigned the unrelenting task of reinforcing the canal with puddle clay. They were doing that right up until the 1960s, when this stuff was put in, steel piling, which is much more effective in building up the sides of the canal. Alright, here, the canal, the main part, carries on that way, but I'm going to turn off this way onto the Prees branch. There's a marina at the end, there's a couple of lift bridges. But yeah, this is going to be another little part of the canal that I've never been on before. That's always worth it for me. When I first hopped aboard a boat over 10 years ago and tried it out as a lifestyle, I was thinking, this is quite cheap. You know, I can just wander the streets picking up bits of wood for the fire and go into a charity shop for my clothes and you could sort of scrape by, but more than 10 years later, I'm the same person, but my standards may be a bit higher. The cost of everything has gone up. Things definitely aren't as cheap as when I first started. You know, the price of coal, diesel as well, probably has risen quite a lot. Yeah, there's quite a few things that have gone up in price. Now, speaking of diesel, my fuel tank's running low, and there's a marina at the end of this arm that should have some. But that's not the only reason I've come this way. I love exploring these arms of the canal. For me, I feel like I'm proper exploring, even though obviously many people have been this way before. Also, for a very busy canal like the Llangollen, this is a respite. It's a little bit of peace and quiet. Breeze Branch was lovely and beautiful little stretch of waterway. I'm really glad that I explored it. I wasn't expecting to get to the marina at the end and find so many services there. Got everything sorted, diesel, water, toilet emptied. Now, whilst I'm getting some diesel put in my tank here, there is a problem with condensation in these old boats, so I'm putting an additive in that will make sure I don't get what's called diesel bug show up, which is basically an overgrowth bacteria, clogs up the whole system. It will shut my engine off. I don't want that, and hopefully I won't have any problems. Right, that's it. I've got all my supplies sorted. I came in for the chandlery, but then I realised that I needed diesel, I needed a bit of water, toilet emptied, all that sort of stuff. So the bill was a little bit more than I was expecting. But anyway, I'm all sorted now. Just looking out my window, it is raining, so I've got a bit of time to do some cooking. I'm in my galley kitchen. I've got a surplus here of homegrown vegetables that have been donated to me by some friends of mine who live in Wales, and yeah, a particular surplus of courgettes. I think that's a common problem if you grow your own. But what I don't know is what I'm going to do with them. I'm not a fan of courgettes in particular, but I do like chopping veg up and frying them or roasting them in the oven, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to chop these up and make some kind of courgette chips out of them. As well as the courgettes, I've added parmesan, herbs and spices, and a little bit of bacon. I do enjoy cooking, but only to the extent where I like to make it simple. So if it's too complicated, I'm not going to bother. If it is, you know, just being able to mix some ingredients together in a bowl, tip them out onto a tray and roast them to perfection, that's what I'm there for. Right, I've just got this out of the oven. It's the first time I've ever made anything like this, apart from maybe sweet potato fries, but it's looking like a very tasty mess. So I'm just going to dive right in here and just see what it's like. As far as courgettes go, that's a pretty tasty way to eat them. Oh, hot. It's a new day, and from here at the bottom of the Breeze Branch, I've got around 7 miles to go. I'm making my way to Whitchurch, and after that I'll tackle the locks at Grindley Brook. Right, the weather is looking absolutely perfect today. There's not too much wind, there's no rain. Oh, it's just lovely, blue skies and everything. I'm about to turn out onto the main line Llangollen Canal after spending some time on the Pries branch. My plan today is to do about 5 miles, going through a few lift bridges, making my way to a place called Whitchurch. My goal there is to use the shops and local facilities, but also track down the former home of a legendary stand-up comedian. So I'm looking forward to that. While there have been no locks so far on this trip, there have been other obstacles that have slowed me down. Right, while I attempt to do this lift bridge on my own, so I've haphazardly moored for, I'm going to tell you about the local area. Just over there, that's the Wixall Moss that we've just come past, and you can still see the scars of the landscape. It was commercially cut, the peat removed for things like horse bedding, for heating, and even for garden compost as well. I should know, I grew up on a garden centre and we used to sell it. By the 90s, the area had suffered severe environmental damage, and commercial peat cutting eventually came to an end. Today, it's a nature reserve. Right, I'm away from the bridge now. Just set off, and there's lots of other boats coming, so I can actually leave that open. They'll hopefully sort it out. All right, cheers. Right. It's getting busy again. Back on the main part of the Llangollen. In the heat of the summer, yeah, everyone's out and about. I headed back to Yorkshire on this trip. I don't know if actually it will be that straightforward, because there's a drought on across the country, a lot of the canals are shut, so there's no way of me actually getting there at the moment. But over the next few months should hopefully return to normal. Got a cow in the canal ahead of me, having a little dip, having a drink. I used to live in Dorset, that's where I grew up. It's where the garden centre I grew up on was, plant nursery. And we had to have a grid to stop the cows, because the farmer would walk them up down the street. Cows just like this. But we didn't have a canal. We never got a chance to enjoy this. They must be loving it. But they don't care that I'm coming past. Not at all bothered. I'm slowly making my way along the Llangollen Canal in Shropshire, and I've been on this waterway for several weeks. Just coming into Whitchurch now. It's a town where I'm going to moor up at the end of another arm that comes off the main line. I'm just passing Whitchurch Marina. It's a gigantic crane outside that's used to lift boats in and out of the water. Especially useful for checking the hull. Right, I'm just turning off. As the boat next to me is going through a lift bridge, I'm going to take a right and explore another canal arm. Well, this one actually doesn't take me into the middle of nowhere, it takes me into the middle of Whitchurch, where I'm going to obviously pick up some supplies, have a little look around. I think I might have a bit of a walk, a bit more than I thought, because I was looking at my map and I presumed this arm goes straight into the middle of the town. It doesn't. Before the Second World War it did, but no, for me I have got about a 15-minute walk. Oh well. I went to Whitchurch to buy some cheese because I heard it was famous for that and also clock making. But along the way I got distracted by a handmade pork pie shop. That was quite interesting, seeing them all actually make them through the window. And then I had a little wander around and finally found somewhere that was selling cheeses, and I think I spent a fair bit of money in the end. And Whitchurch itself is a buzzing place. I don't know what it's like in winter, but yeah, summer holidays, everyone's out and there seems to be loads going on. I'm about a mile from my boat and I've come to see this house. And the reason I've done that is because I wanted to see the former country pile of Ken Dodd, legendary stand-up comedian who famously worked incredibly hard. In fact, this was going to be his retirement home, but he never retired. And it was well known that he basically just grew up and lived in the same house all his life. But this was where he wanted to retire to, and it looks lovely, doesn't it? Right on the border of Shropshire and Cheshire. Now don't worry, I'm not trespassing. The new owners have said it's okay for me to have a look around Ken's old place. He visited quite frequently, and one of the things he enjoyed doing once here would be to stand in the middle of his meadow and shout, "Get off my land!" Which I can just, yeah, you can imagine him doing that, can't you? Get off my land! Yeah, it's fun. I'm having a bit of a cheese fest on board the Naughty Lass tonight. I got slightly carried away at the delicatessen. This one's called Red Fox. I love it. The cheese bubbling away. I think that's done. Right, last day of my journey. Let's just check the weather. Oh yeah, sunny, a little bit breezy, but blue skies. It's looking beautiful, exactly how I'd want it. Got some locks to do today. Haven't had any. I've been travelling for 6 days now and not seen a single lock. I got 6 of them today, including a staircase one, so that'll be quite exciting. So yeah, just gonna untie these ropes and then set off. Well, the sun has immediately gone in. You know that moment when you put the sunscreen on and then suddenly it goes cloudy? Well, that's happened. But also, I've got to take a left turning now. It looks a little bit confusing, but there's no way I can make the right turning. It's just too sharp here. So I've got to go back the way I came, turn round, and then get ready for the lift bridge. Right, here we go. I'm back at the same junction I just left, and the lift bridge has been kindly opened for me by some other boaters. They're even letting me go first. Well, isn't that a nice start to the day? Right, first lock of the day and of this entire trip. I've travelled more than 5 days and this is the first one I've come to. Plenty of lift bridges, but no, this is the first one. And it's not just a lock, it's a staircase lock. The a couple of lock keepers standing next to the gate, and it's all open and ready for me. I don't have to lift a finger. Trisha, you're a volunteer here, and it's getting quite busy. How many boats have you let through already this morning?
We've had 4 this morning, but I believe they've had over 50 yesterday. So it's busy.
50?
Yeah. I hope you're having a nice time on it. And
Yeah, it's got, everyone's on holiday, so it's a nice sort of
it is.
vibe.
And this is a fabulous lock, so enjoy. We'll take you down now.
Are you doing this with your
Yes,
husband?
I am. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so we've got a team
Yeah, we got a team
getting
on.
through this
Yeah.
lock. All right, I'm looking forward to it. Let's
Great
go.
stuff. Okay.
I'm now descending through Grindley Brook staircase, which consists of 3 lock chambers back to back with shared lock gates. Locks like this were once a popular solution to tackle steep inclines in the landscape. But they can be tricky to operate, and that's why these lock keepers are on hand. So what's happening now is they've got to let some more water through because my boat has just run aground, it's just gotten stuck. Here we go, we're on the move again. Hey! With the help of Trisha and her husband, I'm through. Thank you. Bye. But I've still got a few locks to tackle on my own. Something I've missed on this journey. Right, that's those logs out the way. I've done 6 on my last day of this trip, all back to back. Numerous lift bridges. About 17 miles this trip was. Been open water swimming. Got stuck in the silt and had to be rescued by a hire boat. Very embarrassing. And it was just fun to explore some of the branches that came off the canal and some of the canal side towns as well. But what I'm going to do now is find somewhere nice to moor up. A bit of a rest before my adventure continues.